Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
Watch Joe Scarborough announce crazy conspiracy theory about Trump's health. MSNBC's Joe Scarborough came up with a wacky conspiracy theory about President Trump's health because he slurred a couple of words in his speech recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. "We don't have updates on his health," Schmidt said of President Trump. "We don't know what's going on. But this is a legitimate issue worthy of consideration. This is the man who commands America's nuclear arsenal. And that video, that speech, that impairment, is chilling," said political strategist Steve Schmidt. "This is not the person that we knew even 3 years ago. There's a remarkable change," said Scarborough said. "He seemed like he was almost hanging onto the prompter and hanging onto the words. Something, I don't know, there was a struggle happening," said Mika. "You, President Trump, serve America and you know it. You know you don't serve Donald J. Trump, scam developer, scam Trump University proprietor. Reality TV show host, you don't represent him," said Scarborough. "You represent 320 million people whose lives are literally in your hands, and we are facing a showdown with a nuclear power, and you have somebody inside the White House that the New York Daily News says is mentally unfit, that people close to him say is mentally unfit, that people close to him during the campaign told me had early stages of dementia," said Scarborough without evidence. Bernie Sanders just said Trump should think about resigning for a truly stupid reason. Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont clearly still wants to keep his name in the papers, as he is reportedly considering running against Republican Donald Trump in the 2020 election. Given that Senator Sanders wants to become president, it should come as no surprise that he is now suggesting that our sitting president should resign and clear the way for him. It's absurd, however, that Sanders believes President Trump should step down over sexual assault allegations, which are non-existent. CBS This Morning host Gayle King had Senator Franken on her program, and she asked about Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore. Moore may be possibly joining the Senate, and he has been accused of far worse than what Senator Franken is accused of. How do you square that? Instead of answering Gayle's question about how he feels about Franken versus Moore, Bernie answered, "Well, let me take it a little step further. We have a President of the United States who acknowledged on a tape widely seen all over the country that he's assaulted women." He added, "So I would hope maybe the President of the United States might pay attention to what's going on and also think about resigning." Using the loaded word revolution, Sanders then tried to rile up liberals by adding, "What I worry about right now, as we speak, in restaurants and in offices all over this country, where you have bosses who are not famous, there is harassment of women and women are being intimidated. We need a cultural revolution in this country. Do you think Trump should simply ignore everything that wacko Bernie says?" Lib Chris Matthews just criticized Democrats for being too pure. "It's beyond stupid. The Democrats have long since established themselves as giant hypocrites, and have been proving it all over again with the way they have been approaching the recent batch of sexual assault accusations." Following a photo that surfaced showing him groping a sleeping woman's breasts, Democratic Senator Al Franken was forced to come to terms with how he has sexually harassed multiple women. A similar scenario played out with leading Democratic Congressman John Conyers, who admitted to several counts of sexual misconduct. Both Franken and Conyers have announced that they are stepping down from their congressional posts due to their unacceptable, immoral behavior. Despite all of this, Democrats and liberals in the media have somehow been trying to play themselves off as existing on a higher moral ground than Republicans. Recently on MSNBC's Hardball, host Chris Matthews discussed the sexual assaults committed by Franken and Conyers and said, "You know, I don't know how you can avoid the education of this." He then stated, laughably, "The worst you could say about the Democrats is that they're too pure, and that's a stupid thing to say, but that's the worst thing you can say about them. These guys set too high a standard for public office. How's that for an argument? My opponents, that party of my opposition, they set too high a standard, you know, come on," added his guest, liberal writer Jason Johnson. Equally ridiculously, "I think it's important that the Democratic Party has at least remained consistent. Do you think it's absurd Matthews thinks that Democrats are too pure?" Waters spreads disgusting lie about Trump and German bank, Sarah Sanders puts her in her place. Maxine Waters spread a disgusting fake news story while on MSNBC's All In with Chris Hayes. Well, Deutsche Bank emerges as extremely important because they're known to be a money laundering bank. They have been fined over $600 million between the UK and the United States for money laundering, said Waters. They do not have the kind of operation in the bank that would keep up with what is going on, and we can follow what is going on. But they have been known to basically get around the kind of controls that they should have, said Waters. In addition to that, they're the only bank really that will lend money to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has sued them. They have sued him back. But yet they continue to lend him large sums of money. Donald Trump owes them $300 million. $170 million of that for the Trump Hotel that they have to finance in Washington, D.C., said Waters. However, there is a huge problem with Maxine's statement. Sarah Sanders explained the issue when a reporter asked her a similar question. "Look, I think it's important to note, and hopefully you guys have seen this statement that Jay Sekulow, a member of the president's legal team, has put out within the last hour," said Sanders. That they confirmed that the news reports that the special counsel had subpoenaed financial records relating to the president are completely false. No subpoena has been issued or received. "We've confirmed this with the bank and other sources," said Sanders. Pope Francis gives disgusting defense of radical Islam after Trump's Israel announcement. The president made a historic announcement, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. However, Muslims all over the world have been furious over the decisions. The mainstream media has taken the side of the angry radical Muslims and have been condemning Trump for his decision. What is most surprising is what the Pope had to say about Trump's decision. "My thoughts now turn to Jerusalem. I cannot remain silent about my deep concern for the situation that has been created in the last days," said the Pope at the Vatican for his weekly general audience. "At the same time, I would like to make a heartfelt appeal for everyone's commitment to respect the city's status quo, in conformity with the pertinent United Nations resolutions. Jerusalem is a unique city, sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims, who venerate the holy sites of their respective religions there, and it has a special vocation to peace," said the Pope. "I pray to the Lord that this identity may be preserved and strengthened for the benefit of the Middle East and of the entire world, and that wisdom and prudence prevail, to avoid adding new elements of tension in an already convulsed worldwide panorama marked by so many cruel conflicts," said the Pope. Doug Jones scolds Alabama Republicans for not being truly Christian in the same way I am. Doug Jones, Democratic opponent of Roy Moore, discussed whether or not he would protect religious freedom. He responded that he most likely will not. Because the religious people who support Moore are not worthy of Christianity like he is. "I don't know if I can. I think actions have to speak louder than words, so once I get elected I can try to do it. But look, when you talk about their Christian beliefs and stuff, that's one thing, but when you talk about their culture, I'm not sure what you mean by that," said Jones. "If culture means that you have to put down people, if your culture means that you would discriminate against somebody, that you would not treat anybody in the same way that Christ would do, then I'm not going to protect that. I'm not going to protect discrimination of any sort, in any way, whether it's race, religion, sex orientation or whatever, said Jones. So I'm not going to protect that culture if that's what their culture is. What I'm hoping to see is that if they are truly religious and they are truly Christian in the same way that I am, he said. That my faith is, well, we take care of everybody. I've always believed the culture of the South, the heritage of the South, is of people treating people like friends, of neighbors helping neighbors. You know, when a tornado comes through Tuscaloosa or Hackleburg, or you have a hurricane comes up the Gulf Coast, we don't start running around asking people who they are or who their fathers are, said Jones. Wow. Liv Sarah Silverman said she was shaken and scared seeing the American flag being flown. Comedian Sarah Silverman hosts a talk show titled I Love You, America with Sarah Silverman, which would suggest that Sarah is a patriotic America. However, it appears that the title of the Liberals show is meant to be snarky. On the most recent episode of her program, left-wing Silverman attacked American patriotism and nationalism by telling a story about how she was once terrified by the American flag being flown on a lawn. Said Sarah in a monologue, I had a boyfriend many years ago, he was my first boyfriend who had his own house, and one day I went outside to see what he was doing, and he was hoisting an American flag up the flagpole in his front yard. And I instantly felt very weird. It didn't make sense, but I felt this feeling of like, I felt scared, yeah, I felt scared. So I was like, what are you doing? And he said, raising the flag, and I was like, why? And he's like, because I love America? And I was like, right, of course. But inside I was shaken. She went on, and then I calmly walked to my car and I got inside and I called my sister Susie to tell her what happened. Now, maybe you're thinking, what do you mean what happened? Nothing happened, your boyfriend put an American flag up at his own house. Silverman concluded, no, you're totally right, I had no idea why I was freaking out. I had this very visceral reaction and my sister, who knows shit because she's a rabbi in Israel, explained to me, she was like, dude, nationalism is innately terrifying for Jews. Think about it, flags, marching, blind allegiance? These things tend to ring a bell for us. Right. Of course. Duh. It made sense. Why are left-wingers like Silverman so uncomfortable with America's cherished traditions and values?